Before you went?
I think, let's see, I was married November the 8th, 1942. That's when I was married. So I stayed from 42 to about 46 or something like that. I worked and had Mary and all. We were married and we lived in different apartments. And then after that I was sent to war. And when I came back from the war, I stayed there for 2 years. I came back and then I got a job. And then I decided to become a school teacher. And I went through whatever I did. Then my school days, forget about that.
You
On
were born
NYU.
in 46?
Yeah.
He was born in 46, right?
Yeah. Well, anyhow, my day, I think I've told you people.
Tell us again.
My day was when I became a school teacher. And I became a school teacher only because somebody, when I came back from the war, we were sitting down having lunch. I was a machinist. And he said, you know, the company is going to fold up because the war is over now. We used to make cameras, small cameras that were put on the wings of the plane to say when they shut down another plane, they had a record of it. Mm-hmm. Well, he told me, he says, you could become a school teacher. I said, nah. I said, I only got a high school education. He says, you can become. So I went for a stomach. Did I ever tell you the story? I told you the story. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Kids want to hear the story?
Yeah, we like to hear the story.
All right. What happened was, when I come back from the war, I had trouble with my stomach. I always had trouble with my stomach. When I was born, I had trouble with my stomach, and I'm living the longest. But anyhow, I went to the doctor, and the doctor says, come back in 3 hours, and I'll give you another examination. And he had to take an examination on my stomach. I walked through this neighborhood, and I see Board of Education sign. So I said, you know, I ought to go in and find out if there's any chance of my becoming a school teacher. So I went in, and who was at the desk but one of my old teachers from Brooklyn Tech. So when I explained to him that I heard that I could become a school teacher, he says, yes, you can. He says, you got enough experience, 7 years as a machinist, 2 years as in the Army as a welder. I used to be a welder, by the way. Yeah, they made me a welder with Patton's Army. I welded more tanks. Anyhow, what happened was I found out that I could become a school teacher. So I went home and I started to call all the different high schools. Alexander Hamilton, all black school, called me. It said, yes, you could become a school teacher here.
Where
says,
was
come on.
that?
I was in Brooklyn. So I went. He explained to me that I could become a school teacher, being that I had the background. I said, all right, what do I do? He says, quit your job and come take the tests. I had to take 3 tests. 1 oral, 1 mechanical. I had to get on a machine to show that I knew what I was doing. Another one was a written test. I passed the test, became a school teacher, and then I didn't teach machine shop. I was teaching drawing. I taught a class in history, class in civics. Oh
my gosh.
As a school teacher.
Did you have to learn it all right before the class?
I taught most of the subjects, physics and all.
Wow.
Then in order for me to get my college degree, I didn't get a college degree. I got what they call in between.
Like an associate?
Associate degree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go to school in the morning, teach until 3 o'clock, leave there, go up to, now this, where I used to teach was down the lower part of Brooklyn. I go to 96th Street, which is the last part of New York, and teach there. I used to teach there for another couple hours. I had to go to NYU for almost 10 years. They never saw me a lot of times, because I used to get up in the morning, go to work, go to school, up to night school to teach another class, because I never made enough money to keep going, because the city of New York gave me $1,800 a year to start as a school teacher.
Didn't you take a cut in salary going from a machinist?
$1,800. That was my starting salary. When I retired, I made $20,000. Today, they make $40,000 just to start. Mm-hmm. And I did that for so many years, and I became a school teacher.
Why did you go to college if you already had a job teaching?
Well, who was going to pay for it?
No, why did you go?
No, why did you go to college?
I had to
If
get
you
an
already-
associate's degree.
Oh, so
In
you
other
were-
words,
you had a
you see,
job
they
basically.
accepted me as a school teacher if I took these courses and get my college background. I had the experience, but not the background. In other words, when you become a school teacher, you got to know how to teach and all of that. And I took all those classes. It took me almost 10 years to finish because I used to go 2 hours at NYU.
Yeah.
And I go to NYU from 4 to 6. I leave 6 o'clock, get up there, eat until 6:30, 7 o'clock, teach from 7 to 10 o'clock, take the train, come home. 5 o'clock in the morning, I start that whole process all over again.
Wow.
They never saw
He
me.
used to leave on Sunday night,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't see him again until Friday.
Wow.
What were you teaching at night?
Machine shop. I was teaching
To-
tool and die making. That's my
To
background.
adults? Were you teaching to adults?
Yeah, all veterans.
Oh.
It's a good thing I had that job. I wouldn't have been able to buy the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I went
So-
to buy my house in Westbury, the guy says, "You're not making enough money." I said, "I'm a school teacher. I got a steady job." He says, "No, you're not making enough money." I said, "Well, I'm making, at that time, I think I was making $2,000 a year." He said, "You got to make more than that to get a mortgage." So I told him, "But I work at night." He said, "What do you do there?" I said, "I teach veterans." He said, "What do you make there?" I said, "Well, the whole year I make $1,000. He said, "Well, then you qualify." And he gave me the mortgage. And that house in Westbury cost me $17,000. $17,000. Sold the resource for about $250.
Wow. Isn't it amazing?
That's the background. I'm putting that all down on
Yeah.
paper, by the way.
Yeah, he's writing. He's
Yeah.
writing a history.
I've got almost 3 pages made out of so far.
Good.
But then I
Well,
ran
you're
into
recording
trouble.
it.
You
Oh, you're dragging
you gave me that dragon where you talk into it and it types on the computer. I must have hit the wrong number because what happened? They got
Erased it?
didn't erase it, but on all of my icons that I had on the desktop, they became blocked with another something on top of each one of the icons. I couldn't get into anything. I couldn't get into the stock market, anything, because what happened is it might have been a virus or whatever it was. They blocked me out. When I clicked on any of them, it wouldn't take it.
Oh, no.
So I had to buy a. You had just left and Richie had just left, so I got a guy to come in.
Yeah.
I paid him a few dollars and he fixed it for me.
Oh, he did fix it.
Now it's working.
When you type, when you speak and you type a new section, do you press a save button? Save?
Oh
Do you
yeah,
go
at
up
the
to
end.
edit
Yeah,
and
at the
do
end.
save?
Yeah, save.
All right, because
Yeah, I
otherwise
save.
you could lose the whole thing.
Yeah, I save all the time. Yeah, I
Hey-
do that
hey,
because
Grandpa.
when you click the button, it tells you. One of the it comes out. It says, "Do you want to save it? Or do you want to delete it?"
Yeah.
And I put on save. Yeah. Well, that's fine.
I'm really impressed that at your age you're learning to use this computer and doing what you're doing with it. It's really good.
Yeah.
Keeps your mind active. It's good.
Well, I use the computer a lot, but I don't play with that so much. I rather read the papers and look at the news and stuff like that.
When are you going to get those new additions for your glasses that'll make reading easier?
Well, I found a doctor. I went to the doctor the other day for my eyes, and he got through with all of that. He says, "There's nothing wrong. Whatever you got, you got. You got everything that's possibly could happen to a person. You got it." So I says, "What do I?" I says, "When I read, I find that it's hard for me to read unless I got a lot of light."
Yeah.
In fact, I bought something that Anthony and I are going to work on tomorrow that I can put as a harness over my neck, and it's got 2 arms coming out, and it's going to have 2 things that hold a magnifying glass so I could read.
Yeah.
I find that if I read now, which I do, I read on a plane, if I read too long, my eyes get tired on me, so I
Yeah.
quit. So with the magnifying glass, I read a little better. It enlarges the thing, and I can see it where I don't have to force myself to look at it.
What about they have these devices, it's like a little page and it's digital, like your computer screen,
Yeah.
but no glare. And you can make the words as big as you want, but it's as
I
it's
can do that,
lighted
but I
up.
got to do that with the news. When I read in the morning, the newspaper say I get the newspaper in the morning after I have breakfast, and I sit down for about an hour or two, and I try to read, keep up to date. But I can read with the magnifying glass very well, as long as I got a lot of light.
Yeah.
And I got something now I saw in the papers that it was a harness with lights on it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work. I'm going to fix it with your father tomorrow and
Adjust
work it
it.
out so that I put this on my neck. The magnifying glass goes in. It's gonna. I hope it works, and then I can read in the back.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
better anyway.
Well, I'm trying everything.
Yeah.
I like to read, but sometimes I can't, especially with my stock market. You know,
It's very
stock
small
market,
print.
I'm right there all the time.
Yeah.
I try to keep up to date with that.
What about watching TV? Can you see the screen on the television?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. With these glasses, I can see pretty good. These are bifocals, and I can see you clear. Everything can clear. When I look outside, when I drive, these glasses perfect. Everything. But I find one thing: I wear sunglasses whenever I get out into the sun. Because one day I went to church and I had these glasses, and I went to church. You know where the church is.
Yeah.
I drove to church with these glasses. When I got into church, everything was like a fog. I said,
Because it
"Oh
was
my
so bright
God!"
outside.
Yeah. So it took about 10 minutes before everything cleared up on me.
Yeah.
So now when I drive, I wear sunglasses. And once I get into church, I put these back on, and
Yeah.
that's all right.
Good.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm learning different things.
I got you.
Inside, so you're stuck.
I thought it might have been the glasses, like magnifying a light,
Hey, Grandpa,
like a
It's
lens.
like driving into a tunnel.
how did you meet Grandma?
It's really dark.
We lived across the street from one another. She lived over there, and I lived over here in the one street called Skillman Street. I asked her, this is all is in the papers that I'm writing. I asked her when she was about 10, 12 years old. I said, how about going out with me? Would you go to the movies together? She says, yes, in the morning. And later on, she says no. So I didn't go out with her again until about 4 years later.
Do you think that was because Nana wouldn't let her?
No. She wanted me to go out with Mary. She wanted it. Italian girl, Italian boy, of course, you know that.
I was a
So-
little young though, 10 years old. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
let
know,
this-
I know.
I mean,
know.
I wouldn't
Well,
let these kids go out
well,
with somebody at 10
Well, we
years
lived
old.
right across the street from one another, you know?
Yeah.
We see each other every day.
Yeah.
Now, did your parents grow up in the same place that her parents grew up in?
Yeah, they all came from Rocca di Neto. Rocca di Neto is a small town in Calabria.
Southern.
And they both lived. My father was a soldier, and he happened to come through Rocca di Neto, and he met Mom. She liked him. They liked one another. They got married in Italy. He sent her to America, and she stayed here, and then he came over. And then he had 7 children. He had 4 girls and 3 boys. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, it is. Well, they're all passed away now.
Where do you fall in that?
There's Anna, she was 99 years old. Agnes, she was in her 80s. Agnes, Mary, Jenny just died. That's the 4 girls. And then there was me, my brother Mikey, and Sally. Sally was a policeman. He went to answer a call one time as a police officer, and he walked around the back, and his partner knocked on the front door. The guy that was inside had called about there was some disturbance going on. He had a gun. He shot through the door and killed my brother's partner. He left there and fell on the floor. My brother heard the noise. He came around to see what his partner was. He got down on him. He got up to go face the guy. The guy came out and killed him.
Wow.
And that's
When
how
was
he
that?
died. He died.
How old was he?
Oh, I would say maybe 25 or 30.
He was married though by
Oh,
then.
he was young. Yeah,
he was
very
married
young.
and he had some
Yeah.
kids already.
Oh,
So
yeah.
is that in like the
You ought to
50s?
see the procession they had for him.
What year do you remember the year?
Like
It's
in
after
the 50s?
the war, though, right?
It was
After
in the
the war.
50s.
Yeah, this was after the war, yeah.
It was, I can remember it vaguely. It
Yeah.
was in the 50s.
Yeah.
So I would have been maybe
Sally
7,
was
8.
was a young man.
I remember Sally and Michael Blandino used to go fishing in summer down in Smithtown all the time.
Yeah.
They used to go off, 2 of them fishing. Always came back with lots of fish.
So you asked her to go out with you. She said no.
And then 4 years later, what happened was she left the boy that she was going with. It was another Italian boy, and she was going out with him. And I met up with an Irish girl. I almost married her. But what happened was, and it was a good thing it happened, she made me sign a loan as a co-owner of the loan.
The Irish girl?
I had to sign, in other words, because I was working. I had a job at that time. I was making $16 a week, working from 8 to 5 and Saturday half a day in a foundry. Anyhow, she finally, when I graduated school and I had this job, I went back to school at night because I wanted to learn more about machine shop. So I used to go to school at night for my work. And she always would come past me. This was about 4 years later. You know,
Grandma would walk
we
past
were,
you.
and she was about 18, 19, something like that. And then finally, she approached me. She said, well, when are you going to ask me out? I said, well, you never wanted to go out with me.
At 10.
And finally, I said, all right, we'll go out. And we started to date, and we went out. And I had a Model T Ford that I used to drive up to pick her up. She says, don't come around my house with that Ford. Stay around the corner. I'll come around.
Why?
Because it was an old car. It cost me $16 for the
It's a
Ford.
whole week's
The
work.
tires used to cost me $1 for a tire. I paid I think it was 8 cents a gallon. That's what we paid for gasoline.
Did you get her to go to Coney Island with you?
Oh, no. She never really came to Coney Island with me.
I thought you went
And
there
I
on your
stopped.
first date.
I did that beyond. When I used to go out with Peggy, that was the Irish girl. But getting back to the co-making, when I found out that she was making me sign, she finally couldn't pay anymore. I got stuck with all the money that she owed, or that she got. She got a loan of about $500. I got stuck with all of that.
Oh.
Wow, that's
So I
an
decided
enormous amount
she
of
wasn't
money
a
for-
good person to stay with.
Especially
So
when
I
you make
quit her, and
$16 a week.
then I met Myri, and that's how we got together.
Thank
And
you.
then I remember when I finally decided that we were going to get married, I used to go pick her up, and Grandma, you know Mom, she was at the stoop, knitting. She says, Dominic, ven acá, come over here. She says, you got good intentions with my daughter. If you don't got no good intentions with my daughter, I don't want you around to come around and see my daughter anymore. I says, yeah, I want to marry, all right? All right, then you go upstairs. Otherwise, I couldn't go upstairs.
Nana was a
romance.
Yes, she was.
And in those days, when my sisters used to go out, I was the chaperone. I had to go with them.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed to go out by themselves. They used to date. I had to go with them. And then my sister used to give me a quarter. She says,
To
get lost. What can I tell you? Tell you a little about where we lived. We lived in an apartment house. It was nine apartments. We owned half of the apartments. We slept in 2 rooms. My mother and father slept downstairs in the kitchen with a coal stove that your father used to look at all the time. It was a kerosene stove.
Cast
The
iron
gir-
monster with the
Yeah.
rings that you could lift up and look at the flames inside. The house
Anyhow.
was full of kerosene.
Anyhow, we had 2 beds for the girls. They slept together. And I slept with the 2 boys. So we were 3 boys in 1 bed. If I didn't get it from one guy, I got it from another guy. I was the little guy. So that's the kind. We had no bathtubs. I washed in a tub, the wash tubs that you wash, those slate. I used to get in there, wash up, and that's where we took our showers and everything else.
Did you have a
Then I
bathroom outhouse?
finally got showers. I remember that. I used to go to the Jewish neighborhood,
The baths.
and they had a bathhouse there. For 10 cents, they allow you to take a bath.
Wow.
Yeah. Then, of course, I joined the YMCA, and I could take a shower anytime I wanted.
Was there an outhouse in the back of the apartment building, or was it?
But the outhouse,
Yeah, was there an outhouse at the apartments then, or was it?
well, at that time we
outdoor
had,
plumbing.
as far as the toilets, they were outside.
Yeah.
They used to be in the in the backyard. So if you had to get up at night, you had to go outside or open the window and do it outside. Oh, don't forget, that's a long time
It was
ago.
a long time ago.
Bananas were, I think, 10 cents a pound, something like that.
Yeah.
Eggs, all you wanted. Milk was cheap.
Were there still horse-drawn carts?
Oh, yeah.
The Department of Sanitation, I remember this, actually can't go back that far. The Department of Sanitation, just to pick up the garbage, with a horse-drawn cart. It was like a cart like this, just an open cart in the back of the horse, and it was just fenced off. And the guy would come in, take your garbage, dump it on top of that, and then you go to the next house and pick up and do that. And that was the Department of Sanitation.
Whoa.
They just take it off to the
And
river or whatever.
They dump it in the
In
river.
the summertime, we used to take showers from the Johnny pump. We used to
Fire hydrant.
open up the Johnny pump and open it up so it sprayed. And we'll all take showers in it.
Oh my God.
Wear your clothes, and then you don't have to do laundry too.
What's that?
Keep your clothes on. You don't have to
Yeah,
do
well,
laundry.
those days, put a
I
pair of
remember
shorts
when I
on.
was a kid,
Yeah.
and I was 5 or 6 years old when we moved out to Westbury on Long Island. I grew up in Brooklyn first before that. I remember Tony was the fruit and vegetable man, and he would come along with a horse-drawn carriage. You know, he had a horse, fruit and vegetables packed into a wagon, and
Hey, I
he would
can't
go
believe
along
there
and
was a
people.
horse-drawn carriage when you were a kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In the
like
40s?
Me too.
Yeah.
At my Grandma Ball's mother, there was a guy that came.
Mamu.
Mamu, yeah, came down her street.
You watched
Wasn't
the
like
were
the
nice.
rag man a big
Yeah.
thing too?
And he'd be
Right.
hollering,
Oh,
watermelon!
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have refrigerators, so we used to have the ice box. And the ice box was on the outside of the window. You opened the window and they used to put a box there. And we put ice in there, and then that's how we kept everything cold.
Wow.
Yeah, in those days.
And the Iceman comes around. And
Yeah, everybody,
Yeah,
yeah, we used to buy a chunk of ice. Yeah,
I remember those. I remember some, I don't know who it was, but it was a wooden box,
yeah.
and the Iceman would come and he would stick the ice in the bottom, and the water would drain out to the bottom, and they'd keep the milk and a few vegetables up above. But it's not like today where people bought food for the whole week. Every day
Yeah.
you went shopping.
Yeah, because the market was right down in the
Yeah,
corner.
right around the
And
corner.
so you refrigerate everything.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you cooked something and you ate it till it was gone.
I can't believe there were horse-drawn carriages when you guys
Well,
were
not
kids.
carriages. It was a wagon. It was
You
a
guys
big
are
wagon.
old.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Finally getting the picture.
I mean, it wasn't a carriage; it was a wagon. So I'm hearing
Yeah,
that.
it wasn't a public
Is it like a
transportation. It was a
Conestoga?
work wagon.
There was no covered wagon. We weren't wearing a bonnet, you know.
And I think I remembered somebody coming around outside yelling about sharpening knives, but I can't swear to that. That's
Yeah,
a
but
faint memory.
there was a person that would come and sharpen your scissors and your
Yeah.
knives.
What about
Same
the
guy
rag
that sold
man?
watermelons.
What about the rag man?
That was more in New York City.
Is
I
that-
don't remember that.
What is
Maybe
that?
it was a story from someone else, like another horse-drawn wagon scenario where they would come in
That
and
was,
pay
Pen-
like
what's
a
that,
couple pennies for your rags.
Zero Mostel and Fiddler on the Roof. That was a rag man.
Wait, what was it?
That play, Fiddler on the Roof. I think the Jewish fellow was a rag man.
He like collected rags from people.
And then they'd recycle them.
Just turned into other things.
It was like one of the first things they
They
recycled.
made rag rods.
Guys, to tell you one more story about our wedding. When Mary and I got married, we had no money, and of course nobody else had money. So we made the night before the wedding, we made sandwiches. Mary and I and the family we all got together. We bought rolls, cut them up, put the slice of ham or whatever it was, wrapped them all up, made a big package of all ham sandwiches or whatever it was, and we went to this nuns' quarters where we used to play basketball, and they had two halls. The one on the bottom was like a reception hall, and the top was a dance hall, was a basketball court. I used to play basketball. Yeah, we hired one of my best friends' brother to play, Pep. He was my boss at the foundry too. He gave me a job there. But anyhow, that night we invited all the paisanos and all. We had, the family came, not as husband and wife, but the whole family.
Kids included.
I mean,
Everyone.
everybody. So downstairs we had the soda and the wine. It's all, we never had hard liquor. We had the wine and soda and all the sandwiches. So when you wanted a sandwich, you went downstairs and got a sandwich. You came upstairs and danced and did whatever you had to do. And we collected, when we finished, $350.
Wow.
That was the whole way. That's the most. That's
Wow.
I took that $350 and we went on a honeymoon. We went to Sea Island, Georgia, the Cloister Hotel. And that was a very expensive. We went to the I went to the department store to find out if I could go someplace down south where it was warm, because it was winter, November, we got married. So they gave us this Cloister Hotel. And that night, while we were there the first night, who comes in but Governor Dewey? He was the governor of New York State. He had just been voted as the governor. Imagine that. And Eisenhower used to play there. He used to play golf there. I never realized what it was.
Pretty high class honeymoon.
Yeah, I know that.
Pretty
I
fancy.
never realized it. Cost me the whole $350. When I got home, I was broke. I had no money.
Grandma was impressed. Though.
Not a penny.
wearing
Both of us.
shoes.
Well, that's some of the stories anyway.
That's amazing.
I got that all written down, so maybe someday you'll look at it.
Definitely.
I got to get a couple of names and a couple of dates and stuff like that. I'm working on it, though. Keeping me busy. I've forgotten half of the incidents that happened. I forgot that you and I, when we went to Europe, we went on a tour. You remember when we were in Italy and he was driving, I was driving? Yeah, that was the one.
That
Then
was
we
fun.
went to that restaurant where the guy fed us.
Yeah.
That was a
The
story.
night that we were
You ever
leaving.
told me this story?
Yeah, you
When-
have, honey.
In
You've told
Milan?
that story many times. You want to tell it again? Go tell it again.
I don't
Maybe
know.
somebody
Well,
else
not
will.
the way you
now
did.
I-
Now that you've
Well, I
just ruined
just-
everything,
I just-
no, it's quite all right
I
now.
don't want you to repeat yourself. That's a sign of aging.
I don't know this story.
You can tell stories more than once.
Well, I must be aging because I don't remember the story.
Okay, go ahead and tell
You
it.
tell it.
No, I don't.
All right, you guys are just
Oh,
like
who's
that.
aging?
Should I tell the story?
Go ahead. Do you remember?
So they're winding through these mountain roads. It's like the road next
oh,
to a
not that
cliff.
one. No.
But see, so it could be any story. And they pull into this restaurant and it's closed. But when they find out that you're there and that your last name is Potenza and that you got family in Roccadonato, they open up the whole place and they cook you a 9-course meal and stuff you full of wine.
Yeah.
Really?
Before getting on the plane, yeah. Yeah.
We ate and we drank so much. Now, I don't know how we got from
It
the
was
restaurant
course after
to
course
the
after
airport.
course.
Honestly, we had these pitchers of wine that came out in these little brown jugs, about a liter. And we would just keep pouring them. And we told the waiter to bring us the best that you had in the house. We started out with this fish antipasto dish, and then he brought out a whole fish that he filleted. And then they brought out a meat dish, and they brought out pasta, and they brought out cheese, fruit, dessert, coffee, anisette, brandy.
I don't know how we got to the airport that day.
I don't remember that part. Yeah, that was just by
All I
luck.
remember about that air flight was waking up halfway across the Atlantic and looking at the sandwich in front of me. It was like half one of the sandwiches cut on a diagonal. One side was brown bread, the other side was white bread, and it had one slice of ham in the middle, and it was dry.
You're like,
Not in Italy anymore.
I looked at that and I said, ugh. And I hid this going, blah, 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 blah.
It's okay.
Who was on that trip? Grandma and Grandpa?
Four of us.
And Dad and I, yeah, it was our first time to Italy together. Not Dad's first time to Italy, but our first time together.
Oh, because Dad had gone before.
With 3
In his
women.
wild days.
Yeah. Why don't you tell that story?
Yeah,
That's worth
let's-
telling.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I don't think
Mom should tell that.
I don't think
story.
Yeah.
it's
Mom, how did that story go?
That story.
There are some
Somebody
things
just
that
got
you shouldn't tell your children.
Bash.
Okay.
Oh, on that note, I think I'll stop the
A lot of good
recording.
memories, though.
You weren't the only one called her.